Charles wants to start us off.
Charles, good to see you.
Likewise, Coach. You're coming out of an intense strength and conditioning winter. Can you talk a little bit about the mindset and temperament of the team coming into spring session today compared to where you were last year relative to some of the COVID restrictions?
A year ago at this point, we were already home and really weren't sure what was going to happen. We sent everybody home for spring break, and originally there was going to be a two-week at home quarantine period and figure it out. And then as we got into that 2 weeks, then that became 2 more weeks in the month of April, and then obviously we didn't come back. And I thought we were having a really good off season last year. That just the leadership of this past year's senior class, that was evident from, late in December after the Army-Navy game a year ago. Just how determined they were to get things back going the right direction. So I really thought we had a great mindset and a preparation for spring ball a year ago. And unfortunately, we weren't able to do it. And there weren't very many teams that got that in. There were some that beat the pandemic to the punch and got spring ball in, but we weren't able to find out a lot about the freshmen, especially the guys that were on the scout team. And so we really had to do some discovery work when we got to preseason camp. I think this year, as everything is kind of pointed toward maybe a little bit of a recovery from the pandemic, that spring ball was going to happen. Our guys have been excited. And when the NCAA extended the dead period, which was going to end on April the 15th, so that we could go out recruiting and we could bring prospects in, when they extended that through the end of May, we decided we would push back our spring ball. And really, I kind of got a little bit of a nudge from Jay Bateman. He and I were talking on the phone earlier this spring, and he had told me that Mac Brown had pushed theirs back because of the change in the recruiting rules. And I thought that was really a wise idea. There's a lot of teams that are done. They've been done for weeks with spring ball. And we probably put ourselves at risk in case there was another shutdown or something like that. But I think having the extra time in the weight room and the extra time to prepare for spring ball was good for us. I think all of our players, particularly our young guys, feel very prepared for spring ball. There was a great attitude and enthusiasm today. A whole lot of mistakes, but and I'd hoped we would do better with that just because of the extra preparation. But I guess that's to be expected. But I think our guys really have a good mindset. I hope that we've got a very humble mindset and realize that this is a new team and it's the responsibility of this 2021 team and the senior class of this upcoming season, this upcoming team to lead this group and to really set the standards to meet the expectations we have.
Great. My follow-up and final question is, from where I sit, this is probably perhaps the most depth and talent across each position that I've seen since you've taken over the program. From a position group perspective, can you talk about the competition that you anticipate coming into spring ball?
There's good, healthy competition at a lot of positions. In terms of just a wealth of talent and depth, I don't know that I'm comfortable saying we've got that. There are some positions that we've got some experienced guys. Obviously, the slot back position, all of those guys are back, so that makes us feel pretty good about that group. All of the quarterbacks are back. And though we played a lot of different guys there are some guys with some experience, and that helps us. Obviously, the offensive line is going to have a lot of changes. We had several guys that played a lot of football for us. Mike Johnson, who seems like he's been around here forever, Peyton Reeder, J.B. Hunter, Lucas McCleary, really a good group of seniors that played a lot of football for us. And so we're going to have to we're going to have to find out who we are and what that lineup will look like on offense. And defensively, there are positions that are similar as well. Having Eric Smith back in the middle at middle linebacker, what a great kid and a tough player. Obviously, we've got to replace a great bit of production that we had with Radigan. Losing a leader like Amadeo West is a big loss for our team. But there's some guys there, Andre Carter, that we're excited about and the development that he's made. Guys like Nolan Cockrell and Kwabena Bonsu, Ryan Duran, all veteran guys that have been around here in the program. Cedric Cunningham, Marquell Broughton, Jabari Moore, guys that have played, Julian McDuffie. So, there's some players. It's just really discovering what the personality of this team is going to be and how well that senior class leads us, I think, is going to have a big part in really us having success or not.
Great. Thanks a lot, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Charles.
And Coach, good to see you. You mentioned the offensive line, certainly an area where you have to find new players. You can build around Connor Bishop and a couple of players who have played for you. How do you approach rebuilding your offensive line this spring?
Try to find the best 5 players and work them into a position so that they can be on the field together. Obviously, Connor, Noah Knapp, who's played a lot for us, Dean Powell, Connor Finucane played as a true freshman. He I hope will only get better. Booby Law, who was at our prep school but played a lot as a freshman for us. There's some guys there that have been in games that I think we can rely on to improve and get better. So really, whatever that combination of people is, the best 5 and trying to figure out how to get them on the field and taking guys. Mason Kolinchak's played a lot of football for us. Cam Holloway is going to be a senior. So figuring out who those guys are and how they fit. And I know they'll be tough. There's a great temperament in that room and at that position. I think they really set standards for each other. Our coaches, Coach Davis, Coach Tuatelli, they do a terrific job with that group. So I'm confident we'll have a group that's ready. That the depth at that position is always the biggest concern for me.
Sure. And Coach, you certainly have depth at your quarterback spot with Tyre and Christian, Jamel, Cade Ballard, and then of course Jabari Lawson. Could you comment on how you're approaching spring practice with that number of experienced players?
We're trying to give everybody reps, and Jabari right now is not taking any. He's not quite ready to get in there and take reps. He can toss the ball around, but I don't think there's any need for us to turn him loose at this point. There's lots of other guys to get evaluated, and we got some young guys in the program that we really want to find out about and figure out if they can get in the mix or if they can help us somewhere else on the football team. So there's a lot of experienced guys that you mentioned, and we're going to play with one quarterback at a time. So if one of those guys is capable of helping us in another position and gives us the best chance to win having him in the game, then we may make some changes there. But I think there's good competition. And what's nice for Coach Worley, Coach Davis, and for the offense is to have several guys who we feel very comfortable putting in there in the huddle under center and have all the ability to run the offense and keep the scrimmages and the practices and the game going for us.
Thanks, Coach.
Jeff, you've got a lot of experience through the lineup. You play a lot of guys last year. Do you have a better idea about your personnel because of that heading into the spring?
When there's a lot of returning players, it's certainly easier to evaluate where we're at each position. And there are going to be some new guys that maybe have changed positions or coming off the scout team or have just developed that we'll find making a push to be a starter or to be a major contributor. But certainly having guys that have been in games at least gives us comfort in knowing what we're capable of. And I think really probably helps our coordinators build a game plan and really a thought to what maybe we'll be good at and what we need to really prepare to do for the fall.
Is this spring camp similar to ones in the past? Do you have less questions in your mind?
It's very similar. It probably is more similar to the maybe the 2018 season, when that was a season that we had a lot of guys who had played a lot of football for us, maybe not as starters, but had been in a lot of games, and we really knew that team well. We knew kind of what we had, what they were capable of, and that team won a lot of games. I don't know if this team is going to perform well enough, if we're talented enough, if we'll execute well enough to win 11 games or more. But that's really, that doesn't concern me. The important thing to me is that we maximize who we are and try to do the best job we can to not allow Army to beat Army. And that's things we can control: our attitude, our effort, execution of our assignments and fundamentals.
Thanks, Jeff.
Coach, just talking to your players prior, they seemed obviously pretty excited, more than they were last year, because they knew that they have a game coming up, in the fall. They have a schedule in the fall without question marks. Can you see that at all in practice today? And do you notice a difference with the guys?
I wouldn't say I notice a difference between the way we practice today and day one of other preseason camps or spring camps. This is the first day. Everybody's going to be charged up and enthusiastic and excited, and I really felt like we had great enthusiasm today, as we should, and we should have it every day. We should have it Friday when we come back out there again, the opportunity to be out there and to get better. And so, in terms of the schedule a year ago, at this point a year ago, we had no idea what was going on. All the kids were home. We as coaches really didn't know what we were going to do next. I think we probably assumed, hey, this will blow over. We'll bring everybody back. We'll go through spring ball. We'll go out on the road, spring recruiting. We'll have camps in the summer, and it'll be business as usual. It really wasn't until the summer that we started to realize that the season was going to look a lot different than we had anticipated. And we don't have any guarantees now. We don't know what the fall is going to look like, but certainly things look like they're headed in the right direction. But we have no control over that. We control only our attitude and effort. And I really challenged our guys to do that last year. We were confident we would find a way to play. And so we really just kind of put all the other stuff to the periphery and focused on us. And I'm just trying to do the very same thing and take the same approach with this team.
I want to go back with the quarterbacks. You said you're open-minded and give them all an opportunity. Christian Anderson last year, I believe, started for you. Played pretty well until he got banged up. Can you kind of tell me what you need to see out of him? Obviously, you'd like to see him take another step in the right direction.
I want to see him lead the team. And I think the most important thing that the quarterback can be for our team is tough, a leader, and a winner. And that needs to come out not only in the way he plays, but the way he communicates with other people on the team, certainly in the offensive huddle on that side of the ball in that unit. But the quarterback needs to be a guy that everybody in the program is confident in. So that really is what I'd like to see out of him and all of our quarterbacks. But the guy that's going to be the guy needs to have that about him. And he is going into his senior year. And so he should have the confidence to be able to lead our team in that way. And hopefully we'll see that as we go through this spring and through the summer and preseason camp. But he started, Tyre started, Cade Ballard started. There were a lot of guys that played for us. So it's nice to have some guys that we feel really good about. I think all those guys lead in their own way and have the ability to be out in front of the team. You know, Cade Ballard has never lost a game as a starting quarterback. In high school, he was 30-0, and he's 2-0 here. So hard to argue with why you wouldn't put him in the game and let him start. He has never lost one. Tyler's just got a great connection with our guys, our team. They believe in him, and he's a competitor. He's tough. You know, so there's other guys along with Christian that we really feel good about.
Can I just ask you a quick question about a recruit? Cleb Lubin, a local guy out of Suffern, great kid. But I just want to know, what did you see in him that you really, you wanted him to come to Army? He has all the tools, upstairs and, physically. But if you could just tell me, what did you see in him that, you wanted him to be part of this program?
Because of the NCAA rules and that we don't have a national letter of intent, I'm not permitted by NCAA rule to comment on it.
Gotcha. No problem.
Hey, Coach. How's it going? Just wanted to ask.
Good to see you. It's been a while.
How are you? I'm doing well, thanks.
You still got one down at Coastal Carolina?
Graduated. He's down in Charleston, actually. So
he needs to ante up, man. They had a good season. He can send a check down there.
Right. It was amazing. It was amazing. Hey, I wanted to ask you about the weight room. You talked about the weight room. I saw you posting videos on Twitter throughout the list of the players. Can you talk about the environment of the weight room and how you said you extended out to spring to maybe get some more time in the weight room, and it certainly looked like it panned out for you. Can you just go into a little bit more detail with that?
Our strength coaches do a fantastic job. Coach Hughes is a really great teacher, and he's got a great staff. We got some guys in there that I just think do a tremendous job of coaching the fundamentals in the weight room, the different lifts. They're just right on the cutting edge of new things that are happening in the industry and developing our guys. And so our players are excited to go in there. Coach Worley, he hadn't seen a full off season. He obviously joined us last January, and then we turned them all loose in March. But he said our guys just never seem to have a bad day in the weight room. They're always energetic and fired up. And I think it's the environment that's created by the strength coaches, and then our players. Our players come in there just with a real excitement every day. It's a great facility. We've got a nutrition center that's as good as anybody in the country. And so when they come in there, I mean, it's a big time experience. It's like playing at any Power 5 school, and they're really well coached. And I think just this team and the culture of this program, I think lends itself to us having good days in there. Our guys are excited about getting better and improving, and they enjoy watching each other put up big numbers and perform and on those max days. I mean, it's just great energy. So really the credits to our players, but also to the strength coaches that are in there.
Can you also talk about what it's like having like a safety tandem like Markel and Cedric Cunningham coming back with the experience that they have and the playmaking skills that they have coming back into a spring where, you do have a lot of defensive players coming back, but those guys certainly having those guys on the back end.
Those are two really smart football players, very competitive guys, and are both outstanding leaders. They work really well together. There's not competition between those two guys to try to lead our football team. They've got their own personality and their own way to lead. They just do a really good job. I mean, there's just things that each one of them does that's unique that I think fit really well in the defense, and neither one of them are, that physically, they're not 6'2", 6'3", big long guys. They just make it work and they make plays. So just good enough. And if we can just be good enough, Sal, then that's good enough.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Coach,
Jeff, could you elaborate on the running back position, Jeff?
There's a lot of guys at B-back that have played, obviously. Cade Bernard, Jacoby Buchanan, Anthony Adkins. There's guys as you look at the depth chart have played a lot of football and I think are going to be good players. There's some young guys that we've got at that position, the B-back position, that I'm excited to watch this spring. Frankly, I think we've seen enough of Cade and Jacoby and Anthony that we know what they're capable of, and we'll probably limit their reps a good bit this spring so that we can evaluate and find out about the other guys at that position. And then at slot back, I think we talked briefly about that, but Tyrell Robinson, Brahim Murphy, AJ Howard, Ijon Marshall. I'm missing one other one in there. Who's our other slot, Rachel? There's 5 guys that rotate in there and it's slipping my mind. And I hate to not mention one of them, but anyway, there's a bunch of guys at that position that have played and been very productive for us too.
Coach, you talked about the strong leadership you had on last year's team, which helped get you through a challenging year. Who do you expect the leadership on this year's team to come from?
I expect it to come from the seniors, and I hope it will. And when a team has strong senior leadership, I think that team maximizes its potential. At least in my experience, when that's been the case, the teams seem to play the best that they're capable of. That doesn't mean we're going to be a great football team. I just think if we get good senior leadership, that we'll maximize who we can be.
When do you announce captains? Is that at the end of spring?
We will. We'll allow our team to do that, and I don't know if it will be at the very end of spring or if we'll wait. Last year we waited till the end of the summer. We let everybody get through the workouts, and so I thought it was good, and I thought our guys did a good job of choosing appropriate captains.
All right, thank you.
Jeff, how much do you use the 2020 season to motivate or raise the bar for this team? Or do you kind of put it behind you and this team has to develop its own chemistry and character?
Every team is different. Every team takes on its own personality. It may be a similar personality to last year's, and it may not. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be success in terms of wins and losses or not. It's just going to be the personality of this team. And I think the senior class has a lot to do with that and how they lead. So I'm always anxious to see what each team will become. And as much as I'd like to control that, I don't control that. I've got to do my job and try to motivate and inspire them and get them pushed in the right direction in order to succeed, keep their attitude and effort at a peak level, and then let the team develop. So I'm excited about the guys we've got. I think we've got some really strong senior leaders on this football team, which is really encouraging to me.
Coach, I was just going to ask you about the schedule. In the off season, the winter and the spring, do you spend time looking at film of each of the opponents and starting to put plans together for the teams on your schedule?
We do. We want to have some kind of an idea as we go through the spring drills to prepare for the defenses that we'll face, to prepare for the offenses that we'll face, and really gear our practices, especially toward those things that we're going to see more than others, the things that we'll have to master. There are going to be some carryover from one game to the next, and then to certainly spend a lot of preparation on our academy opponents, being an offense and defense that looks very similar to those academy counterparts. that helps. It helps in the scrimmages when we're going against each other, and then that's something that our coaches do. We got a great staff. I believe in them and the job that they do to prepare our guys. So they've looked at film of every opponent and a lot of film of ourselves. We do a lot of self-evaluation to try to see what we can do better and things that we might need to change.
Thank you.
Hey, Jeff, what's it like to have spring ball again? Now, this is, a rite of passage for all you coaches.
Glad to be back out there. I love spring practice, and I think it's a long time to go between December, early January, whenever the season ends, all the way to August. And in fairness to the players, I think they need to have that opportunity to practice football and to bang into each other and feel the physical nature and forces of two bodies colliding in football gear to really help them prepare for the season. And I think it helps with health and safety for us to have spring practice. But I love football. I practice it year round. We could practice every single day of the year and I would never get tired of it. I enjoy it. I love this game. I love the sport and what it teaches, and just really love being a part of this team. So it's the most fun for me as a football coach to be out there on the practice field and to be out there playing football.
Jeff, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ken. Coach, starting tomorrow, New York State's allowing fans into college games. Can you kind of just talk when you guys play your home opener that, hopefully, obviously you have cadets, but you also be able to have Army's faithful there?
I hope it's packed to the gills. I'm looking forward to it.
Jeff, any thoughts about, you had some coaching changes over the winter, people gone, people back, people in, some thoughts about the changes on the staff?
So really just two coaches on defense, and we had two coaches that had opportunities to go to other jobs, and certainly we wish them well. But we had two coaches join us, both of whom have a history with Nate Woody. They're both on defense. So I thought that was really positive to be able to bring in guys that have worked with Coach Woody, worked closely with him, have a knowledge of the defense. And so Courtney Braswell came from Appalachian State, who has a history with our staff, and Eric McDaniel came from Louisville, and ironically, Greg Gasparato went to Louisville, but a very similar scheme. And Greg will tell you, he left here on a Friday and started spring practice on the following Monday, and was able to step right in. The terminology and so for Eric, really was the same for him. He came. He was a defensive assistant there and was able to step right in, and the terminology and all that was kind of what he had been doing.
Anything you're going to be working on specifically on your next couple practices?
Attitude and effort, trying to get our guys to have a sense of urgency about preparation, paying attention in the meetings, assignments and fundamentals, and that's that there's nothing more important in this sport, and probably any sport or any profession, than being good at the fundamentals. So we'll concentrate and focus on that as much as possible.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. Good to see you.
You guys too. Have a great day. Beat
Thanks,
Navy.
Coach.